The story of Zakaria alayhi salam. Zakaria alayhi salam was an illustrious prophet of the Israelites. He was one of the descendants of Suleiman. He worked as a carpenter and he led a simple life like most of the other prophets. He had a wife and her name was Al-Yashbi, who belonged to the family of Prophet Harun. The Quran does not provide accounts of the Prophet's childhood or youth. Hence, the story of this Prophet begins when he was 90 years old. Zakaria alayhi salam was a faithful follower of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he was very humble in his behavior. Like his ancestor Ibrahim alayhi salam, the Prophet too reached an old age without having any children. It was during this time that the wife of Imran or his sister-in-law gave birth to Maryam alayhi salam. But shortly after, Imran alayhi salam passed away, and this sparked off a dispute within Bani Israel regarding her guardianship. Zakaria alayhi salam should have been the ideal choice, for he was her uncle and a prophet whose moral character was beyond question. But Bani Israel disputed this choice, for everyone wanted the prestige of raising the daughter of Imran. The people finally agreed to cast lots to decide on the matter. Zakaria alayhi salam kept silent and remained in his good behavior. The people who wanted to become the guardian wrote their names on wooden pens and put them in a container. Then, a child was asked to pick one pen from the box. The pen that the child selected bore the name of Zakaria alayhi salam. But the people were not happy. Many of them asked for the cast to be repeated. The Prophet kept silent and agreed. This time, the claimants all put their pens into the river. It was decided that the pen that would flow against the current would win the guardianship of Maryam alayhi salam. It was a miracle. All the pens of the claimants floated along with the river's current, but the Prophet's did not. It floated against the current. But the people weren't happy with this either. They were not convinced and they demanded a third round. This time, they demanded that the pen that floated with the current would win the cast. They threw their pen into the river and again the Prophet won the cast. The Prophet's pen floated with the current while others' pen drifted upstream. Such is the power of Allah. The people may plot and plan, but what is written will take place. Thus, Bani Israel had no choice but to acknowledge that Zakaria alayhi salam was entitled to assume the guardianship of Maryam alayhi salam. Maryam alayhi salam grew up as a faithful follower of Allah. Even when she was a child, she was always found in a state of prayer. She stayed in seclusion, away from the people. Her room was in an enclosure within Bayt al-Maqdis, specially built for her. There was something magical about this little girl. Every time the Prophet walked in to check on her, he always found her surrounded by an abundance of food. I did not bring this food for her, he wondered. Then where did all this food come from? And strangely, the fruits before her were not of this climate, but they were still fresh. "O Maryam," he asked, "from where are these fruits coming to you?" "It is from Allah," replied the little girl. Even though the Prophet believed the little girl, he still had his doubts. This incident repeated many times, and finally the Prophet asked her once again. "It is from Allah," replied Maryam alayhi salam. "Indeed, Allah provides for whom He wills without account," she said. When the Prophet saw these miracles repeatedly, it reaffirmed his faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He knew Allah had the power to do anything, no matter what the conditions are. The Prophet always wanted a child who could continue his legacy of prophethood. But he was now 90 years old, and so was his wife as well. He started praying with utmost conviction to his Lord, "O Lord, give me from yourself an heir, who shall inherit me and inherit also the posterity of Yaqub, and make him my Lord, one with whom you are well pleased." And very soon Allah responded to his prayers. One day, when the Prophet was praying, the angels came to him. "O Zakaria," said the angels, "we are here to share a good news about your son. His name shall be Yahya. Allah Himself has named him, and this name has never existed in history." But when the Prophet heard this, he got confused. "My Lord," he said to the angels, "how can I have a son when my wife is barren and I an old man?" The Prophet said this not because he didn't believe, but it was more of an exclamation of surprise. "Such is Allah. He does what He wills," said the angel. "Can you show me a sign?" he asked the angel. And the angel replied, "Your sign is that you shall not speak to anyone for 3 nights. You can talk to them only in gestures, and remember your Lord and glorify Him in the morning and afternoon." When the Prophet came out of the room, he realized he couldn't talk anymore. He had to talk to people using gestures. After a few months, like Allah had promised, his wife soon gave birth to a boy. They named him Yahya alayhi salam.